A routine drive home from work turned into a whirlwind of discoveries for Jack when he found a mysterious tracking device underneath his wife's car. The small spherical object had to have been placed there by someone, but by whom? Several motorists had signaled toward his car that day, but it ran smoothly, and the dashboard showed no warnings. He dismissed it until, in his garage, a faint red light blinking beneath the car caught his eye. Crouching down, Jack spotted a small device no larger than a matchbox. A reverse image search confirmed his suspicion it was a GPS tracker. That night, a car idled outside his home before vanishing, and later he found fresh scratches on his garage lock. He took the tracker to a technician, who opened it to reveal a SIM card and small circuit board. The battery was dead, and the SIM card number yielded nothing. The shop owner warned him, "Whoever planted this isn't playing around. If they're monitoring you, they'll know you've removed it." Determined, Jack searched tech forums, contacted service providers, and spoke to private investigators, but every lead hit a dead end. One investigator hinted at organized crime. Late one night, Jack found an online forum describing identical trackers tied to a criminal surveillance network. A breakthrough came when an investigator traced the SIM to a burner phone linked to an unmarked building on the city's outskirts. Jack approached cautiously, slipping inside through a dim alley entrance. The halls were quiet until he found a room filled with monitors showing surveillance footage of homes and cars, including his own. On a desk lay a folder labeled Operation Brown, containing months of reports and photographs of him and his wife. He grabbed the folder and escaped, only to see two figures outside his home later that night saying, "We need to get it back." The danger was now immediate. Jack returned to the building and ventured deeper, following a faint hum behind a locked maintenance door. Before he could act, it opened and a tall man stepped out. Jack confronted him about the tracker. The man's expression didn't change, but he finally said, "This isn't your fight. You have no idea what's at stake." Back home, Jack replayed the encounter in his mind. His wife, Alice, noticed his unease, but he kept silent. Unknown to him, she was working with the FBI. She had uncovered hidden compartments in vehicles sold by a former drug kingpin turned car dealer, setting off an undercover operation. The FBI convinced her to let them track her movements to gather evidence on the condition that Jack remain in the dark. The danger was real. One evening, she spotted a man lingering near her car. She drove away quickly and called her FBI contact, who assured her they'd handle it. As the operation neared its end, Alice reviewed all the information she'd given: timelines, suspicious activity, and personal observations. She knew her role was critical, but also that danger would remain even after the case closed. Jack, still unaware of the truth, continued his search for answers, convinced the tracker was about him. In reality, it had always been about her. The technician's warning was clear. "Whoever planted this isn't playing around. Be careful who you talk to. If they're monitoring you, they'll know you've removed it." The words chilled Jack, but he pressed on. Inside the open device was a SIM card and tiny circuit board linked to the blinking light. The battery was dead, but the SIM number produced no results. The shop owner admitted there was nothing more he could do. Jack left with the device, determined to uncover the truth. He scoured tech forums, contacted phone providers, and spoke with private investigators. But every lead failed. The tracker was too generic to trace, the SIM unregistered. One investigator hinted at organized crime, warning him to tread carefully. Late one night, Jack found an online forum describing identical trackers tied to a shadowy surveillance network. The realization made his skin crawl. This was deliberate. His paranoia grew, scanning streets for strange cars or strangers, but he saw no one. Then came a breakthrough. A private investigator traced the SIM to a burner phone linked to a small, unmarked office building on the city's outskirts. He also handed Jack a pawn shop card, suggesting they might have sold the device. The building was plain and anonymous. Jack circled to the back and found a slightly open service entrance. Inside, the air was heavy with machinery hum and faint chemical smells. He moved through narrow halls until he discovered a small, windowless room lined with monitors and filing cabinets. On the screens were surveillance feeds of homes and cars, including his own. His stomach sank when he saw Alice stepping out of their car. A folder labeled Operation Brown lay on the desk. Inside were detailed reports and photographs of him and Alice, evidence of months of tracking. A noise in the hall sent Jack hiding. Once clear, he fled with the folder and sat in his car, heart racing. The pages were filled with surveillance logs, coded references, and one name that stood out: C. Jennings linked repeatedly to an organization he vaguely remembered from news reports. Back in his garage, he reviewed the notes until muffled voices outside made him freeze. Peering through a crack, he saw two figures near his driveway. "We need to get it back," one said. They meant the folder. The threat was now immediate. Jack slipped once more into a dim hallway through another service entrance. The building felt abandoned, but danger lurked behind every step. The building smelled faintly of cleaning products, its silence pressing in. Jack moved quietly, listening for any sign of movement. Turning a corner, he spotted a locked door marked "Maintenance," from which came a faint, steady hum. He was weighing whether to force it open or call the police when it creaked open on its own. A tall man stepped out, his calm but cold tone carrying weight. "Can I help you?" he asked, closing the distance. Running was pointless, so Jack spoke plainly. He was looking for the person who had placed a tracker on his car. The man's eyes flickered with recognition, but his response was measured, "You shouldn't be here." Jack pressed, threatening to involve the police. After a tense pause, the man sighed and motioned for him to enter. "This isn't your fight. You have no idea what's at stake." He offered nothing more than "You're in over your head" before ending the conversation. Back home, Jack paced, replaying the encounter. Alice noticed his agitation, but he brushed her off, deepening the distance between them. That night, they lay in bed facing opposite directions, silence stretching on. Meanwhile, the tall man sat in his office, troubled by Jack's persistence. Jack's demand for answers still echoed. Why was he being watched? This time, the man finally revealed the truth. "It's not about you, it's about her." When Jack realized her meant Alice, the man confirmed it but insisted he wasn't the one who had planted the tracker. While Jack searched for answers, Alice was secretly meeting with the FBI. She had uncovered hidden compartments in vehicles sold by a former drug kingpin turned car dealer and had alerted authorities. The FBI asked her to allow them to track her movements to help build a case under strict instructions to keep Jack in the dark. The operation was dangerous. One evening, she noticed a man loitering near her car. She calmly got in and drove off before he could approach, then called her FBI contact. The incident rattled her but steeled her resolve. As the investigation neared its end, Alice reviewed everything she had provided to the agent's timelines, suspicious activity, and personal observations. She knew the risk wouldn't vanish entirely, but her role had been vital. At home, Jack remained unaware that the tracker was never about him. It had always been about her. The night before the raid, Alice reviewed all she had shared with the FBI timelines, details, and her own observations. Her information had been vital in exposing the car dealer's smuggling network, but the danger wasn't over. Jack, still reeling from what he'd learned, pressed the tall man for answers. The agent explained that the dealer who sold them their car was a former drug kingpin who hid contraband inside vehicles and used sales to move it across state lines. Alice had discovered the hidden pouches by accident, contacted the police, and begun working with the FBI. Their home had even been targeted for a break-in, but by then the FBI had already removed the drugs. The agent praised Alice's courage and invited them both to watch the raid. The next day, Jack and Alice arrived at the FBI office, joining a private observation room filled with live feeds. Agents geared up, the tension palpable. Jack reassured Alice as she trembled. The operation began. Teams stormed locations, making swift arrests, though one suspect barricaded himself inside and another stash of documents delayed progress. Alice's anxiety spiked, but the agent beside her stayed calm. Jack promised her, "No more secrets," before the final push. Soon, coordinated strikes across multiple sites brought the operation to an end. The couple was safe. The tracking device was no longer needed. Jack couldn't believe how much had happened without his knowledge, and his appreciation for Alice deepened. At the debrief the next morning, the FBI thanked Alice for her cooperation, presenting her with a certificate of recognition. Jack was proud, though overwhelmed by what she had endured, in silence. That evening, they talked for hours, sharing fears and reassurances, vowing to face challenges openly from now on. A week later, Jack surprised Alice with a small engraved charm, a key symbolizing strength and trust. It was a simple gesture, but it became a daily reminder of what they had survived and the promise to always protect each other. In the weeks that followed, life slowly returned to normal. Everyday moments, grocery trips, walks in the park took on new meaning. For the first time in a long while, they lived without the shadow of danger. One afternoon, Jack and Alice sat with their son, Remy, in the backyard. Though too young to understand, Remy's cheerful giggles filled the air as they played. "He'll never know how close we were to danger," Alice said quietly. Jack nodded. "And he never will," he replied. Their commitment to protecting Remy felt stronger than ever, and they promised themselves to create a stable, happy life for their family. Neighbors who'd unknowingly been affected by the car dealer's schemes approached Jack and Alice with gratitude. "We had no idea," one neighbor said, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for helping to stop them." The small gestures of appreciation reminded Alice that her actions had ripple effects beyond their family. It was a humbling experience, and she felt proud of the role she played in bringing peace to her community. Jack and Alice began discussing their plans for the future over quiet dinners. "What's next for us?" Jack asked one evening. Alice thought for a moment, then smiled. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." They talked about moving to a new city, starting new hobbies, and giving Remy opportunities they'd only dreamed of. For the first time, their plans weren't clouded by fear but by hope and excitement. In the days that followed, Jack reflected on this bizarre and dangerous situation. Realizing that his wife had silently protected him made him proud and deeply grateful for her presence. He admired her courage and resilience, understanding now that her actions had kept them safe. Despite the secrets, he felt closer to her than ever, knowing they'd overcome this together. With the raid complete and the threat eliminated, life slowly returned to normal. The strange anxiety Jack once felt melted away, replaced by a newfound sense of peace. He and Alice spent more time together, cherishing their quiet moments and enjoying the simple routines they once took for granted. Jack realized that trust and love could light the way forward, even in the darkest times.